Adonis probably knew tonight was the last night, so he didn't hold back. Halfway through, his phone suddenly rang. I glanced over and clearly saw the name flashing on his screen. Ophelia. Ophelia was a wealthy heiress. She was probably the woman Adonis was going to marry. Just as that thought crossed my mind, my body suddenly felt empty. Adonis had already pulled away and reached for his phone. He got out of bed, answering the call as he walked toward the balcony. I stared at his tall, broad-shouldered figure, momentarily dazed. "All right, I'll head over now. Give me half an hour." I had no idea what the person on the other end said. After saying that, Adonis hung up and walked straight back toward me. Seeing me holding my nightgown, ready to put it on, he snatched it from my hands and tossed it aside. Then, he placed both hands on either side of me, leaning in. I turned away, avoiding his kiss. "What's wrong? Not happy?" Adonis frowned. I curled my lips into a faint smile. "Your fiancé is waiting for you?" Adonis pinched my chin between his long fingers, forcing me to look him in the eyes. "Ruth, know your place. You don't get to ask me that." "Of course, Mr. Adonis, I don't have the right." I looked at him and smiled. "So no, I'm not unhappy. If you won't let me kiss you, then you kiss it instead." Before leaving, Adonis left a check for $10 million. He said, "I'm getting rid of this apartment. Pack up and move out soon." I nodded. "Okay." He walked to the door but suddenly stopped without turning around. "Ruth, even if we run into each other in the future, we act like strangers." "All right." That night, I sat on the balcony, staring up at the sky for a long time. The midsummer night breeze was as stifling as this bustling city. The dazzling city lights drowned out the stars. I looked for hours but couldn't find a single one. In the end, I picked up my phone and called my agent, who was far away in P City. "Baby, you finally decided to call me. Do you have any idea how long I've been waiting for this? Where's the artwork you promised me? The month ends in 3 days, when are you handing it in? And the long-term collaboration with H brand? They've been chasing me, asking when you'll sign the contract. And your illustration books reprint. Eli, I've decided to leave S City and move back to P City." I cut him off mid-rant. "What? You're going back to P City?" "Yes." "You're leaving now? Why? What about your illustration exhibition next month?" "An exhibition, huh?" I let out a bitter smile. Adonis had made his decision. He was going to marry someone else and cut ties with me. So, there were things he didn't need to know anymore. "I'm canceling it." "No way." Eli rejected me immediately. He had always spoiled me, indulging me unconditionally for the past 3 years. Every time I missed deadlines because of Adonis, he either worked tirelessly to smooth things over or paid my breach of contract penalties out of his own pocket. A foreign film studio once offered me millions for exclusive rights to my best-selling illustration book, but I refused. Instead, I sold it to Adonis's production company for $5 million less. Eli called me a hopeless fool in love 1,000 times, but in the end, he still signed the contract for me with tears in his eyes. When I skipped my very first exhibition in P City just to take care of a sick Adonis, he was furious. But in front of everyone else, he smiled and handled the mess I left behind. Because of Adonis, Looking back now, every stupid thing I had done in the past 3 years seemed to be because of him. "Ruth, listen to me. I've let you do whatever you want with everything else, but this, I won't back down. Your exhibition in S City next month will go on as planned, and you will be there in person." His firm tone made my eyes sting with emotion. I suddenly asked, "Why? You tell me, why did you suddenly decide to cancel it? You were the one who insisted on holding your first exhibition in S City." "Because Adonis is getting married. And the bride isn't me." Eli let out a disbelieving laugh. "I was wondering why you'd suddenly grow a conscience and call me instead of spending the night with Adonis." Ruth, wake up. You're Flacciazzo, a genius illustrator. Even if it's just to spite that blind bastard Adonis, get it together." At dawn, I went into the kitchen. I wanted to make breakfast for Adonis one last time. But before he showed up, his secretary arrived instead, with a contract. A contract terminating our arrangement early. I looked at the strong, confident strokes of Adonis's signature on the document and let out a self-deprecating laugh. Was he afraid I'd cling to him? Without hesitation, I signed my name. When are you moving out? Right now. After replying, I went to pack my things. I didn't own much. My illustration work was all done at my studio, not here. Adonis had been giving me $300,000 a month, thinking he was keeping me. But aside from taking whatever he wanted from me, he never once cared about anything else, especially not my work. Of course, he had no idea that the highly sought-after illustrator, Flacciazzo, whose pieces sold for astronomical prices, was me. I packed a small suitcase and got ready to leave. Hold it. I stopped and turned around. Something else? The secretary smiled, but there was unmistakable contempt in her eyes. The necklace you're wearing, that's from the boss, isn't it? I reached up and touched the pendant on my neck. Yes, Adonis had given me this necklace. It was the first gift he gave me after I became his. A simple heart-shaped diamond pendant. I had worn it for nearly 3 years, never once taking it off. Yes. The secretary crossed her arms and stepped closer. Apart from the $10 million in the contract, the boss never said you could keep anything else. Since you two are done, shouldn't you return everything he gave you? I closed my eyes briefly, then nodded and unclasped the necklace, handing it over. That's it? You didn't take anything else, did you? She scanned me up and down. To be thorough, I should check your suitcase. You don't mind, do you? I don't. I set my suitcase down and opened it for her. She rummaged through it, but aside from my ID and 2 sets of clothes, there was nothing else. And your body? She narrowed her eyes. You're not hiding anything valuable, are you? My expression turned cold. Are you asking to search me? She raised an eyebrow. How else can I be sure you didn't take anything from our boss? Is this Adonis's idea? He pays me to handle his affairs. Then should I take off my dress so you can check? I was wearing a simple, pocketless loungewear dress over my underwear. That would certainly make things. Before she could finish, I slapped her across the face. If you want to search me, tell Adonis to do it himself. After leaving Adonis's apartment, I headed straight to Villa number 109. It was said to be the most expensive villa in S City, so exclusive that even money couldn't buy it. Eli had asked me to move in, saying it belonged to a friend of his. His friend was abroad, and the house was empty, so I could stay for a month. The housekeeper and driver treated me with warmth and respect, almost like I was the lady of the house. They took care of everything for me, down to the smallest details. They even gave me the best bedroom and a studio in the villa. To my surprise, the decor in both matched my taste perfectly. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of home. A feeling I had never experienced in the 3 years I had been with Adonis. In the end, no matter how much I gave to him, to Adonis, I was nothing more than a bed partner. Once I settled in, I buried myself in painting. The moment I submitted all my overdue commissions, a weight lifted off my shoulders. It was the first time in 3 years I had turned in my work on time. After that, I focused on preparing for my illustration exhibition. That night, after discussing work with the curator over dinner, I wandered the streets aimlessly. As I walked, I suddenly saw Adonis's face on a massive screen up ahead. And Ophelia. They were engaged. Ophelia stood beside him, their fingers intertwined, gazing into each other's eyes. Love-filled, tender, intimate. I stood frozen, staring at the screen as memories surfaced, the first time I met Adonis when I was 14. People used to say my mother was a mistress, that she was driven to suicide by the man's wife. On the day she died, she sent me out on an errand. By the time I came back, an ambulance had already arrived. I saw them carrying her bloodied, barely breathing body into the vehicle. I didn't understand what had happened. A neighbor grabbed me, shoving me into the ambulance. I watched as the paramedics frantically tried to save her. But the blood kept pouring from her mouth and nose. I felt completely numb. It wasn't until they took her into the emergency room that I finally burst into tears. Only heaven knew how helpless and terrified I was. But then, the nurse told me I needed to pay 50,000 yuan before they could treat her. I was only 14. Where was I supposed to get that kind of money? Without thinking, I dropped to my knees, begging them to save my mom first. The nurse insisted it was hospital policy. But I had nothing. All I could do was keep begging, over and over. And at my most desperate, hopeless, and miserable moment, Adonis appeared, like a god descending from the heavens. He looked at the nurse and said, "I'll cover the 50,000. I was stunned. By the time I came to my senses and ran after him, he was already gone. Later, the nurse told me his name was Adonis, the richest man in the city. The money was paid, but my mother still didn't make it. She left behind a letter. She wasn't a mistress. When she was with my father, she had no idea he was already married." Boom. The summer sky changed as quickly as a child's mood. Before I could react, the rain poured down in torrents. I kept staring at the screen, at the couple locked in a kiss. Maybe it was the rain getting into my eyes. A warm liquid slowly welled up and spilled over. 14 to 24. 10 years. Now, let's call it even, the 50,000 yuan, paid in full. From this moment on, Adonis and I had nothing to do with each other. I turned to leave. But suddenly, a black umbrella appeared over my head. Startled, I whipped around. A Rolls-Royce Phantom was parked a short distance behind me. The back window rolled down, revealing two familiar faces. The same ones from the screen just now. "Ruth, what a coincidence running into you here." Through the curtain of rain, Ophelia smiled sweetly. "Come on, get in. It's pouring, we'll give you a ride home." My gaze bypassed her and landed on Adonis. He was expressionless. The moment our eyes met, his gaze turned cold, filled with unmistakable disdain. "Ruth, don't just stand there. Get in." Ophelia urged again. I had met Ophelia before, once, at a cafe. She had approached me and struck up a conversation. We had exchanged numbers. I didn't know what I was thinking, but before I realized it, I had gotten into the car. But the moment I sat in the front passenger seat, I regretted it. "Ruth, let me introduce you. This is my fiancé, Adonis. And this is my friend, Ruth." At that, my entire body tensed. Only for a moment, though. I forced myself to calm down, turned back with a smile, and greeted him. "Mr. Adonis, nice to meet you." His response was brief, carrying a hint of disgust. "Hello. Adonis, my friend is soaked. Why don't you lend her your jacket?" I glanced down at myself. I was drenched, my clothes clinging to my skin, my underwear faintly visible. "Fido, give her your coat." Adonis's voice was cold as he ordered the driver. The middle-aged man immediately complied, taking off his jacket. I swallowed back the lump rising in my throat and forced a smile. "Thank you." There was a time when just shaking hands with another man, or even talking to one, would make Adonis furious. He would always make me pay for it when we got home. But now, he was casually telling a 40-something driver to give me his coat. The line between us had never been clearer. In that moment, I finally understood. Adonis never loved me. If he had, even just a little, how could he turn so cold, so heartless, in just a few days? "Fido's coat smells like sweat." "My friend can't wear that," Ophelia pouted. Adonis glanced at me, then reached out to tilt Ophelia's chin up. "Baby, you really don't mind giving your husband's coat to another woman?" Baby. How many times had he called me that in the past? "Ugh, you're so annoying." Ophelia giggled, then turned to me. "Sorry, Ruth. If you don't mind, you can just use Fido's coat for now." "I don't mind." I took the coat from the driver and quickly wrapped it around myself. "By the way, where do you live?" "We'll drop you off." Ophelia asked. I told her my address. "Ruth, this villa must be worth at least a few billion. Is it your boyfriend's?" "I never knew you had such a rich boyfriend." I smiled but didn't respond to Ophelia's comment. Instead, I took off my coat and handed it to the driver. Outside the car, a servant stood holding an umbrella, waiting for me. "No need," I said. Just as the driver was about to take my coat, Adonis's cold voice interrupted. "Fido, have my secretary buy you a new one later." "Yes, Mr. Adonis." The driver agreed with a grin. My hand froze in midair for a few seconds before I slowly withdrew it. "I'll transfer the money for the new coat to Miss Ophelia later. Thank you for giving me a ride back." With that, I opened the car door and stepped out. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of Adonis's face, dark and stormy, just like the sky above. "Hey, Ruth, we're getting married on the 27th this month. I'll have someone send you an invitation. You have to come to our wedding." The 27th. What a coincidence. That's the day of my art exhibition. Sure, I agreed without hesitation, feeling absolutely nothing inside. As soon as I got out of the car, Tara, the housekeeper, quickly held the umbrella over me, shielding me from the rain. "Oh dear, Miss Ruth, how did you get so drenched? You're freezing. You'll catch a cold at this rate. Hurry inside and take a hot bath. I'll make you some ginger tea." I wasn't sure if it was the cold wind or something else, but my eyes suddenly stung with tears. Why did Tara remind me so much of my mother? That night, I was dozing off with a book in my hands when my phone suddenly rang. It was an unfamiliar number. I answered. "Ruth, it's only been a few days, and you've already blocked me completely?" Adonis's gritted voice came through the phone. At that moment, he was standing in the walk-in closet of the master bedroom where he and I had lived together for 3 years. He stared at the neatly stacked piles of cash, $3.6 million in total, and the $10 million check. His forehead veins bulged with fury. 3 years. $3.6 million. Plus, a $10 million settlement. Not a penny more, not a penny less. And everything he had ever given me, I had left behind, every last bit of it. The drowsiness vanished instantly. I asked calmly. "Is something wrong, Mr. Adonis?" "Right now. Immediately. Get your ass back here." "Back where?" I chuckled. "Mr. Adonis, we signed a contract." "What? Found a bigger backer, and now you dare go against me?" Adonis had already looked into it. House number 109. A property under Harold's name. His family wasn't just powerful in S City, nationwide, they were untouchable. "Mr. Adonis, you must be joking." At that moment, I felt something I had never felt before, utter disappointment. My heart died completely in that instant. Not a ripple, not a single trace of emotion left for him. "If there's nothing else, Mr. Adonis, please uphold the contract and stop bothering me." "Ruth, when exactly did you start hooking up with Harold?" "What, you think just because you left all the money and gifts behind, it erases the fact that I kept you as my mistress? That it makes it okay for you to spread your legs for Harold? Even if Harold spoils you now, you're still just a woman I got bored of and discarded." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. "Mr. Adonis, do whatever you want with the money and the things. I don't want any of it." Eli flew into S City 2 weeks early for my exhibition. If we didn't count video calls, we hadn't seen each other in almost 2 years. It wasn't that Eli didn't want to visit me in S City, I was the one who kept stopping him. I was afraid Adonis would find out about my identity as Flachazzo. Even more afraid he'd be unhappy seeing how close I was with Eli. So I always made up excuses to keep him away. When Eli rushed out of the airport and hugged me, I couldn't hold back my tears. Through the mist in my eyes, I saw a familiar car parked on the side of the road. Inside, Adonis sat with a face as dark as a storm cloud. Luckily, he left quickly. But I didn't expect to run into him again, inside the restaurant bathroom. Leaning against the sink a few steps away, he stared at me, his gaze full of shadows. My body stiffened in shock. The moment I realized what was happening and turned to flee, Adonis caught me effortlessly. He pinned me against the wall, his fingers gripping my chin like a vice. "Ruth, you really are something else. It's been, what, a few days? And you've already learned how to play 2 men at once. Tell me, were you messing around with Harold and that other guy while you were still with me?" "Adonis, you're insane." I gritted my teeth against the pain of his crushing grip. "My life has nothing to do with you anymore." Adonis let out a cold, mocking laugh. "What right do you have to act high and mighty in front of me? You're the daughter of a homewrecker. A woman who can only survive by clinging to men. What makes you think you can act superior to me?" I shut my eyes. "You knew all along, that I was the girl kneeling outside the ER 10 years ago?" "Yes." His voice dripped with contempt. "Your mother was a mistress. Do you really think you'd turn out any better?" "My mother was a mistress. So I must be the same?" This was the man I had loved for 10 years. The man I had willingly hidden in the shadows for. The man I had served like a housemaid for 3 years. I laughed. The last trace of gratitude or affection I had for him completely vanished. Yes, Adonis. I really am cheap and stupid. Are you satisfied? For a split second, something like regret flickered in his eyes. Ruth, come back to me. Just like before. I can give you everything, except status and a title. Before he could finish, I slapped him across the face. Adonis, get lost. Eli, do you know Harold well? Back at Villa 109, I finally asked the question I'd been holding in for 2 weeks. Yeah, pretty well. He's actually your biggest fan. He'll be at your exhibition, you two should have a good chat. Is that really necessary? You ungrateful brat. He's been spoiling you with food, drinks, and a place to stay, and you're not even going to repay him? If he's really my fan, I'll leave him a painting. That should be enough. Eli, really? Ruth, you're a big name now. Looking at the posters for my exhibition plastered all over the city, Eli sighed. If you weren't so against it, I'd have landed you so many commercial deals by now. I smiled. We don't need the money. Who said we don't? I do. Eli shot me a glare. When we get back, you owe me 10 extra paintings a month to make up for my losses. I chuckled and nodded. Deal. Eli stared at the corner of my lips, where a faint trace of blood still lingered from the bite. The corners of his eyes suddenly flushed red. Hey, Ruth, what do you think? If we put your photo on the promotional poster, wouldn't that have an even bigger impact? It definitely would. Your beauty is even more stunning than your illustrations. If we do that, the exhibition will be packed for sure. Actually, never mind. If too many people show up, it could get chaotic, and if anything goes wrong, it wouldn't be good for you. For the next few days, Eli and I were both busy with the exhibition. Well, mostly he was busy, I was just following him around. 3 days before the exhibition, Adonis and Ophelia's wedding started trending across major media outlets and online platforms. But I had been holed up in the villa, either buried in my artwork or buried in books and research, completely out of the loop. Some of the paintings I had originally planned to showcase were related to Adonis. Now that he and I were nothing more than strangers, I obviously wasn't going to exhibit any of those pieces. Which meant I had to come up with replacements on short notice. Eli pulled up some trending topic lists from a few official domestic platforms and showed them to me. Look, sweetheart, check this out. He handed me his phone, his expression smug, but his tone dripping with disdain. They can try all they want to hype up that wedding, but they still can't steal the spotlight from you. On the trending list, 3 of the top 4 spots were about me. One article reported that one of my paintings had sold for a staggering $70 million. Another claimed that someone had vowed to buy out every piece at my exhibition. As for Adonis and Ophelia's wedding, it barely made it into the top 10. Did you pay to put me on the trending list? Eli's eyes widened before he flicked his wrist, dramatically jabbing a finger at my forehead. You really think I'm the kind of guy who wastes money like that? Maybe it was the pressure from the upcoming exhibition, but my period came early. In the middle of the night, I woke up groggy from the cramps. Clutching my lower abdomen, I headed downstairs to make myself some ginger tea. Just as I reached the stairs, I heard a rustling sound coming from downstairs, like someone rummaging through something. At this hour? Could it be a burglar? The thought sent a shiver down my spine. Luckily, there was a baseball bat right by the stairs. Without hesitation, I grabbed it, held my breath, and carefully crept downstairs, following the source of the noise. The sound seemed to be coming from the kitchen. As I got closer, I saw the kitchen light was on. I tiptoed forward as quietly as possible. Sure enough, there was a shadowy figure crouched in front of the cabinets, searching through them. My eyes widened in alarm, but I didn't hesitate. Clutching the bat tightly, I charged forward. Just as I was about to swing, the man suddenly stood up and spun around. Caught off guard, I gasped in shock, stumbled back, and lost my balance. In the next second, a long arm reached out, catching me before I could fall, while another hand gently covered my mouth. I stared at the man in front of me, his features sharp and refined, exuding an air of elegance and authority. I was momentarily stunned. Sorry for scaring you. I'm Harold. His deep, rich voice was smooth and magnetic, like a rare orchid blooming in the dark. Harold. The owner of this villa. My eyes widened even further in disbelief. Harold let go of my mouth, his lips curling slightly into a faint smile. It's late. Let's not wake the others. Hearing his words, I glanced down. That's when I realized I was still in his arms, pressed against his broad, warm chest. I was wearing a long nightgown, so nothing was exposed, but underneath. I wasn't wearing a bra. My face instantly turned crimson. It felt like an electric shock had jolted me, and I sprang out of his arms. I quickly lowered my head, hunching my shoulders as I stammered, sorry. I didn't know it was you. Without a bra, it was obvious. When I was with Adonis, he had loved it, he could never get enough. Harold, towering over me with his height advantage, gazed down at me. I wasn't sure if he was in a good mood, but in the soft light, I could see the curve of his lips deepening into an alluring smile. I just got back and hadn't eaten yet, so I figured I'd make something. Are you hungry too? I shook my head furiously. And no, I'm not hungry. Please, go ahead. I won't bother you. With that, I bolted back to my room as if my life depended on it. Leaning against the door, I clutched my wildly pounding chest. My breath came in short, rapid gasps, my face burning. I had almost completely forgotten about the pain in my abdomen. That was beyond embarrassing. Now that Harold was back, and after what just happened, wouldn't it be better for me to move out? Yes, I should move out. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to face him over the next few days. I decided that as soon as morning came, I'd talk to Eli about it. Crawling back into bed, the cramps returned in full force, making sleep impossible. Then suddenly, there was a knock at the door. I tensed up, holding my breath. I made some ginger tea for you. Want some? And do you need any painkillers? Harold. How did he know I was on my period? Confused, my heart started racing again. I got up, threw on a coat, and opened the door. Harold stood outside, holding a tray. On it was a steaming bowl of ginger tea, along with a box of painkillers specifically for menstrual cramps. I looked up at him. He looked at me. The rising steam blurred our gazes, softening the space between us. Maybe it was just my imagination, but for a moment, I thought I saw something incredibly gentle in his eyes. There's a stain on the back of your nightgown. Harold cut me off and handed me the tray. The tea might not work instantly, but the painkillers will. I took it from him. Take them and get some rest. With that, Harold turned and left. Last night, I slept soundly. When I went downstairs in the morning, I didn't see Harold, and I let out a sigh of relief. Good morning, Miss Ruth. Our sir has returned, but he left early with Mr. Eli. They asked me to tell you to have breakfast on your own. The housekeeper was in the kitchen. Whenever she saw me, she always greeted me with a warm, affectionate smile. All right. I didn't dare ask too much. Thank you for the ginger and brown sugar tea last night. What ginger and brown sugar tea? I didn't make any for you. Did you want some? I can make it now. I froze. That thick, steaming bowl of ginger and brown sugar tea last night wasn't made by Tara? Could it have been Harold? That noble, highly respected young master of a prestigious family, making ginger tea for me in the middle of the night? Then, do we have any medicine for menstrual cramps at home? Are you having cramps? I'll go buy some right now. I'm an old woman, well past menopause. There's never been any other girls in this house, so why would we have that kind of medicine? Seeing my stunned expression, the housekeeper chuckled. Wait here for a bit. I'll be back soon. No need, I already took something. Hurriedly, I reached out to stop her. Tara paused for a moment, then held my arm in concern. When did your period start? Is your stomach hurting? Sit down, I'll take care of breakfast. I nodded numbly, letting Tara half support, half push me to the couch in the living room. Miss, our sir is truly a good man. Right? She beamed. Our sir is wonderful in every way. The only problem is, he's getting older but refuses to date or get married. His parents are worried sick. Harold's mother came from an aristocratic family as well. As an only child, she had only one son, Harold. Naturally, he was the sole heir of both families. I smiled but didn't continue the conversation. To avoid running into Harold, I stayed in the art studio after breakfast and didn't go out. The exhibition was the day after tomorrow. Since I had some free time, I wanted to finish the painting I had planned as a gift for Harold. After much thought, I decided to make a splashing painting for him. The canvas was quite large. I secured the paper against the floor-to-ceiling glass window. The upper part was so high that I had to stand on a stool to reach it. I was so immersed in painting that I didn't even notice when the sun had set. Even more so, I didn't realize someone was standing at the doorway. By the time I laid down the final stroke and stepped off the stool, I felt completely drained, like a deflated balloon. I was so thirsty. So hungry. I set down my brush, ready to head downstairs for food, but the moment I turned around, I locked eyes with a pair of deep, brilliant eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 stars. That gaze landed firmly on me, warm and intense. I froze. Huh. My throat was parched. I swallowed. Mr. Harold, how long have you been standing there? An hour. Maybe more. Harold stood there, watching me with an unreadable smile. I didn't know what that smile meant. Feeling a bit self-conscious, I looked away. I'm starving. Is there dinner? Yes. It's been ready for a while. Just waiting for you. I nodded quickly, feeling inexplicably hot in the face. Then let's go eat. All right. To escape the awkward atmosphere, I kept my head down and hurried past him. Even though I didn't turn around, I could clearly feel Harold following behind me, keeping a steady 2-meter distance. Baby, you finally finished painting? The moment I reached the dining room, Eli's dramatic wail rang out. If you took any longer, we would have had to call it a midnight snack instead of dinner. Tara, serve the food. Harold's voice came from behind me. Soon, the table was set. I was starving. I didn't care about anything else and started digging in. Hey, baby, slow down. Wipe your face. You're about to turn into an abstract painting yourself. Eli chuckled and handed me a hot towel. I had just stuffed a large bite of food into my mouth. Hearing him, I glanced up at Eli. Can I finish eating first? Eli stared at me, momentarily stunned. Go ahead, Harold said. After eating my fill, I finally felt better, enough to talk to Harold normally. Mr. Harold, what do you think of the splashing painting from earlier? Harold's sharp brows eased slightly. After a moment of thought, he said. If it were auctioned, I'd expect it to fetch at least 10 million. Eli's eyes widened in shock. I need to see this. With that, he jumped up and sprinted to the second floor. I couldn't help but smile. Thank you for the compliment. Harold's approval reassured me. After all, it was a gift for him. If he didn't like it, I'd have to redo it. On the day before the exhibition, Eli accompanied me to the venue. Everything was already set up, and it looked spectacular. I was very satisfied. Baby, that painting from yesterday, it's incredible. What's its title? How about we set up a special display case for it? It deserves its own spotlight. I shook my head. It's called City's Night Wanderer. I'm giving it to Mr. Harold. It won't be on display. Eli blinked, then narrowed his eyes with a teasing smile. Hey, be honest with me. Do you have feelings for him? I rolled my eyes. Dear Eli, you already knocked some sense into me. I'm not going to be a love-struck fool again. Hey now, that's unfair. That scumbag Adonis? He's not even worthy of Harold's pinky toe. I grinned. And what does that have to do with me? To minimize my time with Harold, I deliberately dragged Eli out for dinner that night. He said a friend recommended a fantastic restaurant. We went. But what I didn't expect, Harold was there. And judging by how he was sitting, it seemed like he was waiting for us. Eli pulled me forward. See? My friend didn't lie. Great place, huh? I wanted to strangle him. While I glared speechlessly at Eli, Harold had already walked over and pulled out a chair for me. Please, sit. Thank you. Eli sat beside me. Harold returned to his seat and handed me the menu. What would you like to eat? Mr. Harold, you decide. I'm not picky. Harold nodded and called the waiter to order. He ordered casually. But as I listened, my heart pounded. Every single dish he chose was something I loved. I had always assumed that Tara cooked my favorite dishes because Eli told her what I liked. But now, I couldn't help but glance up at Harold. At that moment, he finished ordering and looked back at me. Our eyes met. Under the soft restaurant lighting, his gaze was deep and warm, holding an undeniable tenderness. I forced myself to stay calm and smiled, saying, "Isn't Mr. Harold from B-City? How come you love the food here so much and have such an interest in it?" Harold curved the corners of his mouth and replied, "When I was little, I ate a lot with my grandparents, so I slowly grew to like it." I nodded, unsure of how to respond next, when Eli stepped in and asked, "By the way, how are your parents doing now?" Harold picked up his water cup and took a sip before saying softly, "Well, they're in good health, but they're planning to cut ties with me." "Ah, why?" Eli asked. I was curious too. Because the people they set me up with for blind dates, I haven't met a single one. I was speechless. "Harold, what a coincidence, you're back in S-City." Halfway through our meal, Ophelia suddenly appeared in front of us. Harold raised an eyebrow, glancing at her. "Who's this?" calling out here randomly. Ophelia's smile instantly froze. Eli, not helping, snickered and laughed out loud. "Ruth, you're here too?" "Sorry, I just noticed you." Ophelia turned to me. I nodded faintly at her. "You got my wedding invitation, right? You must come tomorrow, and make sure to bring your boyfriend." I really didn't want to engage much, so I just replied, "Okay." Although I wasn't going, I would make sure the red envelope got delivered. "By the way, what's your boyfriend's name?" "Tell me, I'll make sure to arrange a seat for you both." Eli rolled his eyes. "I don't have a boyfriend right now." "No boyfriend? But a few days ago, you told me about your boyfriend. You said he was rich and that you had a great relationship. What happened? Did you break up so soon?" Eli couldn't hold back anymore. "Ophelia, right? On the way here, I saw your fiancé Adonis holding a young girl and going into a hotel. If you hurry now, you might catch them in the act." Eli deliberately raised his voice, and the people at nearby tables started looking their way. Now it was Ophelia's turn to turn pale. "Who are you? Do you know my husband? Stop shouting here." Eli sarcastically chuckled. "Oh, you guys are buying hot searches with all your money these days." "I'm not blind. How could I not recognize that ugly guy Adonis? He's unforgettable, even if I wanted to forget. Better go now, or it'll be too late to catch him in the act." Ophelia was so angry her face almost twisted. She stomped her foot and walked off. I gave Eli a big thumbs up under the table. His ability to make up lies with his eyes wide open was getting better and better. If you want to compliment me, just say it. Holding it in must feel uncomfortable. I looked up, and unexpectedly, my gaze locked with a pair of incredibly deep and bright black eyes. For a moment, I froze, quickly looking away from Harold's eyes. "Do you need a boyfriend?" "Huh?" I was completely caught off guard, my face quickly turning red. "It's nothing." Harold withdrew his gaze. "Let's eat." The rest of the meal felt tasteless. After returning to Villa 109, I made up an excuse to retreat to my room and didn't go out. There was this strange heaviness in my chest, as if something was blocking it. After a shower, I went to the bedroom balcony in my long nightgown to get some fresh air. As soon as I opened the balcony door, I noticed a tall, slender figure on the balcony of the next room. It was Harold. He had already showered and was wearing a dark blue bathrobe. But the robe wasn't tied, so his well-defined chest and abdomen were fully visible. I didn't realize the next room was Harold's. I froze for a second, then realized and was about to retreat, but then I heard Harold call my name. "Ruth." I closed my eyes for a moment and had to stop in my tracks. The next second, I heard a soft thud. I looked up quickly and saw Harold effortlessly leap over the balcony railing and land right in front of me. "What's up?" Harold stepped forward, coming close to me and said, "The question I asked you at the restaurant, you haven't answered yet." "What question?" Harold's chest trembled lightly as he let out a low, alluring laugh. Ruth, do you need a boyfriend? I happen to need a girlfriend. How about we give it a try? I furrowed my brow, biting my lip. Harold, I'm not sure right now. Ruth, you don't have to answer me right away. Harold interrupted, give me an answer after your art exhibition ends. With that, Harold lowered his head and kissed the top of my head. Then he turned and jumped back to his room's balcony. I looked over. He was looking at me too. Our eyes met, and he smiled at me. The smile was gentle and full of affection. Get some rest. Okay, good night. I returned to my room, and my phone suddenly rang with an unknown number. I answered it without thinking. Ruth, who are you really? What's your background? When I heard Adonis's voice, I initially thought he was calling to yell at me for the rumors Eli spread during dinner. But to my surprise, he was now questioning my identity. Does it have anything to do with you? I hung up the phone immediately and blocked the number. Then I turned off my phone and went to sleep. Meanwhile, Adonis threw his phone angrily across the room. For the past few days, he'd been getting people to subtly inquire about Ruth's background from the servants. The servants said that Ruth and Harold were just friends, and so was Eli. Ruth spent most of her time in the villa painting. Ruth's paintings were really good, and Harold liked them a lot. The servants also mentioned that Ruth seemed to be busy with some art exhibition recently. Connecting that with the huge buzz around the genius artist Flacciazzo, who was holding an illustration exhibition in S City tomorrow. There were rumors that Flacciazzo was from S City, a stunning beauty, and only 24 years old. All of this perfectly matched Ruth's information. Then Adonis remembered seeing Ruth sketching something in a notebook once. He started to panic, getting confused. No. He tried to convince himself. Ruth wasn't Flacciazzo. She couldn't be. Otherwise, why would she hide it from him if she loved him so much? If she told him she was Flacciazzo, he could marry her. Because Flacciazzo's status would cover up any imperfections in her past. He'd gain so much for his family and company if he married Flacciazzo. So, if she didn't say it, she couldn't be Flacciazzo. Yes, Ruth wasn't Flacciazzo. She absolutely wasn't. My art exhibition lasted for 5 days. The first day was the most important. The rest went as expected. Except that Eli secretly let in a huge group of journalists without telling me. As I was wrapping up the Q&A with the reporters, suddenly, a familiar figure emerged from the crowd. It was Adonis. He snatched the microphone from one of the reporters and looked at me, his eyes bloodshot, gritting his teeth. Ruth, who told you to hide your identity? Do you have any idea how much I love you? Everyone was shocked and turned to look at Adonis, and all the cameras shifted to him. The news of his wedding to Ophelia had been all over town for days, and now, the scene was in an uproar. I froze for a moment. Do you know who I love? It's you. Tears fell from Adonis's eyes. In the half-month we hadn't seen each other, he looked visibly more worn out. Mr. Adonis, if I'm not mistaken, isn't today your wedding day with Miss Ophelia? Did the groom end up in the wrong place? A reporter asked. Shut up. Adonis yelled angrily, and under the stunned gaze of the crowd, he slowly made his way toward me. Security immediately stepped in, blocking his way. Ruth, it's been 3 years. We've been together for 3 years. Have I treated you badly? Why did you hide your identity from me? I looked at Adonis and finally snapped back to reality. Mr. Adonis, we broke up a month ago. That's because you lied to me. If you had told me earlier that you were Flacciazzo, I never would have broken up with you. The woman I'm marrying today would be you. Adonis shouted in fury. The crowd looked at him with disdain. It was clear that by saying this, he was admitting that his reason for chasing me today was because of my Flacciazzo identity. The fans began to boo him. But Adonis didn't care. He knelt down on one knee in front of me. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box, opening it. Ruth, from the very beginning until now, the person I've always loved is you, and the only person I want to marry is you. Ruth, I love you. Will you marry me? Mr. Adonis, are you really proposing to me in front of my boyfriend? Do you think I'm dead? Suddenly, a voice full of authority and coldness echoed through the room. I, along with the rest of the crowd, turned to look in the direction of the voice. There, Harold walked toward the stage with the grace and confidence of a king. The room instantly fell silent. "Harold, Ruth is my woman." Harold walked up to me, held me in his arms, and shot a cold, piercing glance at Adonis. "She broke up with you a month ago. Her boyfriend now is me." "No, that's impossible." Adonis shook his head and screamed. "Harold, Ruth doesn't love you, she loves me." "Oh really? Then why don't you tell everyone who you're in love with right now?" I looked at Harold, his expression gentle and affectionate, and without hesitation, I answered. "Of course, it's you." Harold smiled. Under the gazes of everyone, he lowered his head and planted a deep kiss on my forehead. Amid the screams from the crowd, security forcibly pulled Adonis away. But he kept staring at me, his eyes filled with desperation and tears, as if pleading. Was he regretting it? But what does that have to do with me now? Aside from that little interruption from Adonis, my art exhibition went smoothly from start to finish. It achieved an unexpected level of success. Major media outlets vied to cover the exhibition. What surprised me was that someone actually wanted to buy all my works from the exhibition. They were willing to pay any price. But I declined. I only gave them the chance to select 10 pieces. It was a perfect ending. As for Adonis, things didn't go well for him. Not only did he lose Ophelia as his bride, but he also became an enemy to her family. They cancelled all collaborations with Adonis's company and started pressuring him in every way possible. Adonis's company's reputation and stock value plummeted. But honestly, I didn't care. On the day the exhibition ended, I couldn't wait to book a flight to P-City. For the past few days, I had no idea how to face Harold. I tried to avoid him as much as possible, coming home late and leaving early. It seemed like Harold understood what I was going through. So, for these few days, he didn't try to approach me. Once on the plane, I took out my phone and typed a text. "Thank you for helping me out that day, but I'm not ready to start a new relationship, so I'm sorry." After sending the message, I switched my phone to airplane mode. Then, I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes. "Excuse me, miss, can I get through?" Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed above my head. It was deep, rich, gentle, and magnetic. Like the most beautiful note played on the oldest and most expensive cello. My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly opened my eyes. Looking up at the handsome face just inches away from me, I felt my eyes well up. "What are you doing here?" Harold lifted the corners of his mouth in a smile as warm as March sunshine. "I've been in love with a girl for many years, and she's heading back to P-City. I've decided to follow her there. Even if I have to chase her relentlessly, I'm going to make her mine. END.